What up, y'all? It's your boy Kev on stage. I gathered some friends of mine because we've all kind of been talking about the late Nipsey Hussle ever since he passed a little over a week ago through texts and conversations, after shows and things like that. And I just wanted to kind of like process this with fellow black men. So I have DZ, who's born and raised in LA, Tony Baker, Tahir, Richie, also born and raised in LA, and Doughboy and myself. So I, to be completely honest and fair, was not a Nipsey Hussle consumer of music. I was aware of him, but I didn't listen to a whole bunch of his music prior, but I was definitely aware of him. So I wanted to get all these different people's opinions on Nip and kind of talk about his life and death. So DZ or Rich, being from LA, when's the first time you guys heard of Nip?
I heard of him, let's say like 2010, 2011 with excuse me. He had a single called Hussle in the House that went crazy. Mm-hmm. And that like, the way that shook up the streets, it was like hard not to hear about it.
Yeah.
I didn't pay too much attention to it. Mm-hmm. But that was the first time I heard about him. And then I didn't really start listening to him until maybe like 2 years after that.
So what year was that?
So, when I started listening to him, that was like 2011, 2012.
Okay, so for a good minute then.
Like his first like 2 years in the game, I wasn't. My fault. I'm sorry.
No, I'm just making sure. You it's been about 8 years that you've been listening to.
Oh, that I've lived. Yeah.
And Rich?
Yeah, same. Same. We said I got into Nipsey probably about 2013. I really started listening to Crenshaw. I was over in Afghanistan, and like True Story was like one of my favorite.
Yeah.
I was listening to night sitting in the bed like, oh man, I just listen to that song over and over, man.
Was it like a homesick thing for you? Like you overseas fighting war and you know listen to Nip and remind you of being back in LA?
Yeah, man. It's just cause I started to see like what he was doing. You know, like he said, first I heard Nip was like back in 2010, and then I'm like, okay, I'm seeing his bars elevating, I'm seeing what he's talking about is elevating, and I'm like, okay, this dude is like where I'm from, you know, South Central. I'm from South Central LA, so I'm like, regardless of like what neighborhood he grew up in, that where he's from, it's like you relate to a lot of what he's saying.
Absolutely. And Bake, that's one thing we were talking about after the show or before the show. You were like, one of the reasons you liked him is because his content he was always talking about something.
He wasn't just putting words together that rhyme. Right?
Yeah.
Like the stuff he was saying, it was like, yo, he actually had content on the bars.
Right.
He's talking about investments and business and, still street stuff.
Right.
But I could tell he had something more underneath it and around it. It wasn't just like bragging, we're going to do this and I got this. But it was like that. And I was like, yo, because I'm old, man. I was like, I need something else.
I need something else.
I don't need no sound effects. Like, it's cute. No,
there's only so many times you can tell me you're rich and I'm broke.
Right. I can't relate. That's like being at the party and somebody like, I got this mansion, some ladies have ladies all the time. You're gonna be bored in that conversation.
Right.
That's crazy, dog. Good for you.
Right. And though I know you're a huge fan, so how did you get?
Well, actually, my introduction to him was different because I actually had met him and I knew who he was, so I used to like hear about him, but I wasn't like per se into his music. I met him on a commercial shoot, and there was a bunch of people around like waiting to like take pictures with him, and I just kind of knew who he was. So like I waited for like 20 minutes, and I went up to him like, "Hey man, I ain't even trying to be that guy, but can I get a picture?" He was like, "Hey man, don't ever apologize. I'm flattered that you would even want to get a picture with me." And like he sat and had a conversation with me, and just I took so much from that because then I became a fan of his. I was like, he's such a cool dude. And then I listened to his music, and then like I love where his mind was like when he did the $100 mixtape, the Proud to Pay thing.
That's how I found out about
so forward thinking.
Like I was training with Ike who banged hard, and he was like Nip was like his guy, like, and it was like not on some like negative stuff. He was like, yo, Nip he had a $100 mixtape, and Jay-Z bought 100 of them, and like he got the store, and like Ike used to bang. He's like, bro, I'm trying to get on my legal stuff now because of Nip. So I'm like, man, that's crazy. You don't really hear of like quote unquote gangster rap getting real gangsters to be like, I don't want to bang no more. You know what I mean? So I was like, man, I gotta so I started paying attention to Nip on the like business side, marketing side. I don't know why I never really like listen. I don't really consume a whole bunch of rap in fairness. This really has nothing to do with Nip. I almost feel like, luckily through music, you're able to always get involved with somebody. And that's kind of what frustrates me. I want to talk about a lot of stuff. But what frustrated me the most is people on the internet like, oh, don't become a fan of Nick now. Like, why? Why can't I become a fan of someone? There's a lot of great music. Like, maybe I don't know. Like, I didn't know. I wasn't aware of his content. You know what I mean? Nobody was like, yo, hey, listen to this. Like, to be honest, most of my music comes from Josh. Like, I was in the gospel, mostly gospel, and Josh was like, check this out. I'm like, oh snap, I like this. You know what I'm saying? So that was kind of different for you. What about you, Tier? What was your first experience?
I'm always like a mixtape guy, so I like finding guys when they up and coming. So I think it was the Marathon that I really got introduced to him, and like that just had. I think I got introduced to him and Dom Kennedy around the same time, and I like both of them. They both were very West Coast, but had two different styles of flow. Dom was way more laid back, chill, relaxed. Nipsey, like you felt, you know what I'm saying, like that hunger, that gravity, intensity in it, and I was like, oh man, this is dope, and. I like the whole thing, like the marathon, you know, to continue running, to continue going, and then the all money in. Like he was really specific in branding himself and the logo. Like you really, like a lot of rappers only do that with the record label that they're with. You know what I'm saying? It's rock. You know what I'm saying? You know, good music, all of that. But he was very adamant about branding himself as an entity, as a business, and I could, as an entrepreneur, like all of us for the most part, I can identify with that and appreciate that. And like what Tony said, piggybacking off of that, he was talking about something, and the music was good. You know what I'm saying? So like when he dropped the Marathon Continues, I was like, oh yeah, one of my favorite songs was Bulgari Shades. It was just like. It was just so cheap. And it's a short song. It's like that for me with a lot of artists. Like, it'd be the shortest ones. He was great about leaving you wanting more. And so that kept me going back and checking out every project that he had. Even though I wasn't able to, buy the $100 mixtape, I did download it.
That was dope about it too, because even though he sold it for $100, he still made the same album free.
And that's what it was genius, because selling your mixtape for that much, it's gonna get people's attention that may not ever heard of you. Like with me, I knew about Nipsey Hussle. I remember Hussle in the house. I was like, all right, it was cool. Jump sample, all right. And then I kind of faded out. And then with Crenshaw, I was reading about it, $100, and then I looked at Crenshaw. And then I downloaded it. I played that album the whole year.
That kind of brings me to my next question. Like
front to back.
What's either a song or album that kind of connected with you the most? So why do you think Crenshaw was the one that like connected with you the most?
It was just the content, the beats, and everything just flowed together well. And I was just like, I was really, because he got my attention the second time. I was like, yo, I like this dude. Was on Childish Gambino's Royalty mixtape. He had a song on there called Black Faces, and Nipsey Hussle started off the song. I was like, yo, I like this verse. He talking about something. And then Rhapsody had him on her mixtapes. I was like, yo, I like this dude. And when Crenshaw came out, Hip Hop DX put up the review, and I was like, yo,
Third time's a charm.
Man, I was all in on Crenshaw, man.
What about you, Deez? What was the song or mixtape that kind of connected with you the most?
I'd say TMC was the one that connected with me the most. Between that and Crenshaw because of what it did, like how you guys said you weren't in LA, but you felt it because it was a $100 mixtape. It was the first time he did something like that, and for like somebody coming from where he's from, it shows me that that's like something. The impossible is possible. Because he went and did something that just like at a time when music was transferring over to streaming too. Did something crazy, like I'm gonna sell physicals for $100. Everywhere I go. Starting in my city.
He definitely kind of went backwards as far as like the way music was going. And people were like rocking with it. You know what I mean? Like people were like, I get it. What about you, though?
I think Crenshaw was the one I resonated with the most because, ironically, it was right around the time I started like getting into really trying to get serious about losing weight. And at the time, I was like 480, like, you know what I'm saying? So I used to work out, and All Get Right was just the joint. I don't know for what reason, like, you know what I'm saying? Because usually when I work out to faster tempo stuff, but All Get Right was just a song that I would just keep listening to when I was working out. So, and he was always talking about like the marathon too. So I knew going into it, like, it's gonna take a long time to lose this weight. So I kind of took that marathon mind state into it. So that album was like the one that really sold me on him, like as an artist. It just connected with me so much in what I was trying to do.
Rich?
What?
For me, it had to be his last one, Victory Lap. Like I love Crenshaw, I love the marathon, but for me, I've actually set in the studio while Victory Lap was being produced.
Word!
Yeah, because I knew his engineer, Mike and Keys, and and I actually had the privilege to sit down and talk to Nip quite a few times.
Oh, snap! I didn't know that.
So you know him.
Yeah. I talked to him. A lot of people don't know on that question number 1. That's me on that. Where you from, cuz? Where your mama stay?
Oh, really? That is you.
That's Richie.
That's me. Yeah. So.
You ain't never tell me.
With Snoop.
Yeah.
On the humble though.
Humble,
So
yeah.
it was like, and then Mike invited me to the studio, and like Nip was just like, to hear like he called it victory lap because like everything he talked about, everything he wanted to do was coming to fruition, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was touching the first M's, and that's the whole album, Victory Lap, and the Double Up with Dom Kennedy, Double Up,
right.
all the time. I ain't telling no, and I'm like, bro, Nip, you know what I'm saying? You make me want to double up right now on everything.
Right.
I want a double cheeseburger. I want a double. I want to double up on everything. Nip.
I think that's kind of the thing about his music that resonated with so many people. Like, what he was talking about was important to him, but people just took that and like, for Doe was losing weight, for Ike was like, I gotta sell these shirts, you know what I mean? Like everybody took that and applied it to their own situation, which I think that's the great thing about music. You can be writing about whatever it is to you, like a loved one lost, and that's my grandmother or my wife or whoever, you know what I'm saying? Like I think that's really interesting that how that was, you guys were listening to the same person's music and it meant totally different things to you, but both very valuable.
Yeah.
What about you, Tahir?
Probably would be the Marathon and Victory Lap. The Marathon just because that was probably my first introduction to him, and for whatever reason, that person's first project is very intimate to me because it's like, man, this is what's either gonna make me, oh, okay, that person's cool, or I like this person,
right?
And that was that piece of work that made me like, yo, I like Nipsey, like so I got everything from off of that first thing. It was the first installation that really brought me face to face with his music. And for Victory Lap, for me, a lot of times I love the content, but a beat has to speak to me too. Mm-hmm. And Hussle and Motivate from the jump just grabbed me, and the sample and that hard bass in there, and like just even at the end when he was like, yo, take the bass out real quick, I just want them to vibe, like you could feel, and then the stuff that he's talking about in Hussle and Motivate, it can't help but to motivate your hustle.
Right.
And I love when a song connects with you on more than just a audio like level, like that like spoke to me, shook me down the side, like so I can play that song when I'm getting ready for a gig, I can play it when I get ready to work out, I can play it while I'm working out, I can apply that to just about any lane in my life, and it will still give me that same shaking feeling to my core. So I love it.
And just to piggyback what he's saying, I remember like sitting there, and I remember his engineers going over a lot of these instrumentals and stuff, the beats, and we vibe, but I'm like, oh, this, and I had to go tweet. I usually don't say nothing. I had to tweet. I said, yo, Nip is coming with some fire, like and I told my wife, I said, if this thing get nominated for a Grammy, I wouldn't be surprised. I said this, and it did, right? I was like, that's crazy. It was good, man. I was in the studio like, oh, this is crazy. This is crazy good.
Absolutely. I mean, kind of brings me to my next question. Like, it's like Nip is equally beloved for his artistry as his business acumen. And so like the reason I want to have this conversation, I've been like, ever since he passed, I've been like every video, every interview. I mean, I just was watching and watching, and it's just like he was up on cryptocurrency years before we even knew about it. Like 2012, 2013, he was talking about all that stuff. So like, what kind of inspiration, if any, did you take away from his like business acumen, which is what I was kind of drawn to him?
I love the fact that he loved his city. He loved his neighborhood like so much. Like if you even go back and look at the, cause I'm doing the same thing, like going back and watching like all of his old stuff. If you go back and listen to the, watch the Hussle in the House video, he's in front of that same, the store that he owned like later in life and eventually passed away in front of. He was rapping there like in 2009. So I think he brought such a pride to the place where he was from, and I just love that about like, you know how like a lot of times when rappers get famous, like they move away from neighborhoods or they get as far away as they can. Like he was creating jobs there, like in the neighborhood, and just being proud of where he was from. And so that to me just made it just so special. Like here's a guy that's from this neighborhood, and he just loves it so much that he brings so much awareness, so much business, so much jobs into it, and just almost just thrived and cultivated his community. I just thought that was just super dope.
Yeah, I think one of the last acts he was doing was somebody just came home from prison. And he was like at the store, like giving basically like a care package. You know what I mean? Like I watched this video of his mom, and we'll talk more about this later. But his mom was talking about like, don't be sad for him. Like he was a light, he was serving, he was loving, he was perfect, and all that type of stuff. Like, however he passed, like to have your last act be a gift is like that's such an insane way to be remembered. You know what I mean? Like doing what you love. Anybody else have any thoughts on like his business?
I think that I appreciate the fact that he wasn't afraid to take risks and do something different. Like he had the first digital store where there was this code on the tags that you could put your phone over, and it would create or it would give you completely new digital content that no one else had been privy to before. And we get a lot of technology in the hood when it comes to like Apple and Samsung and stuff like that, but nobody is doing anything that looks like us on the forefront. So for him to take charge and do something like that and bring new technology and awareness of said technology, because I didn't know that was a thing that you could do. So the fact that he was a forerunner in that, it made me take my hat off another time. Like, man, this dude is really on it right now.
And even when he set up the whole thing, when he did the whole Proud to Pay campaign, that was basically because he didn't believe in just going and just signing directly to a record label. So he was able to put out those records and then generate the income. And like he was one of the few dudes that like owned the masters to all his music. Like that's unheard of. You know what I mean? But so he was just forward thinking enough to say, I'm not gonna take this, like how we talk about so many times artists get into bad deals because they're just starving artists and they just sign whatever. He was more like, I'm gonna do this thing myself and not take no upfront money. He was like in interviews saying like, nah, like we can partner up. But he was thinking like that as a brand new artist, so I think he was just years ahead of his time, business-wise.
Yeah, that Muddy Waters mindset.
No, the Howlin' Wolf.
Howlin' Wolf
was like, just pay me what you owe me. Don't give me no Cadillac, no advance. Just, and I think there's, we are doing that. The tour is independently owned and operated. Well, none of us have no huge here's you take 10%, 20% of my thing. And I know it's great to be on that same path because there's so much more power in your business when you control your destiny. You're not beholden to a record label or a movie studio or whoever, you know what I'm saying? You're able to just kind of create as you will. And I think that's I don't know, I feel like it's really powerful for especially coming from where he came from. I was talking to my wife about this, I was just thinking of from where Nip started, South Central hood, gangbanging, to go from that to legit business owner. Had Nip grown up, not even white, had Nip just grew up in a family that is affluent, you know what I mean? He could have been managing a hedge fund. His business mind got him from literally doing illegal activities to legal activities to running all these businesses, and that was from starting way back behind, goal. And a lot of our life, is based on where you're from. You know what I'm saying? All of us in here grew up with absolutely nothing. No parents, no hedge fund, no Head Start, no nothing. So our kids are gonna be better off because we can do this and that. You know what I mean? So that was the thing I was thinking about. His business acumen was out of this world.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
And I love the fact that he was trying to bring economics to the black community. You know what I mean? He could have went up and put his stores in anywhere, Culver City, West
Fairfax,
Fairfax. But here I am, right where I grew up at. I'm in a barber shop. I got the clothing store. You know what I mean? Food. Bro, we're gonna let dollars touch black hands in the community before it goes out, because I think we don't preach that enough. I think we see $1, so we get paid. We're going to Apple. We're going to Nike. We're going to whoever. We don't circulate it around the community. And that's what Nip was trying to tell us to do. And I think we have to practice that more than ever now. You know what I'm saying? I think it's very important.
Thank you. Hold on a second.
The cops.
This is just grand.
The cops.
Cops.
Oh, you serious?
You just locked the door.
All right.
Hi, we got a call from one of the neighbors that there's some dispute or something going on.
Some what?
Dispute on some sort of issue.
We're shooting a video in here. Yeah, we were arm wrestling earlier, but
Okay. Do you mind if I come in?
hey, sure.
Come on in, sir.
Oh, it really is a cop.
People just
That
not
is
mind
so
their business. That makes a lot more
funny.
sense. Okay. Everybody's good?
We saw, hold on, but wait, it was some kids running back and forth about 10 minutes ago.
Nah, but we were. I mean, you guys.
We were just loud. We're
No.
loud, and we're.
You guys aren't making it. You guys are totally fine, but people are kind of nosy.
That is literally.
You guys have a nice day.
Thank you.
Better, sir.
Literally what we be talking about.
Thank you.
Yeah, literally what we be talking about.
I saw them because they were there for a minute. I was looking at the reflection because I saw the dude with the walkie. I was gonna try to walk around, but if I was gonna peek out, then I don't want.
Bro, when people see black people, too many black people loud,
They're like,
I need to call the police.
They fighting upstairs.
The first time we had an ADD moment.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
The first time a lot of people in here.
God, I tell you, boy.
Still spit.
Go ahead, Rich. You finish your thought.
No, I'm finished. It's up to you.
What's that I was gonna say?
Go ahead.
Okay. One thing I really like about Nipsey Hussle and what he did, because even though he was like a gang member or whatever, he never really like glorified the gangster lifestyle, and he always like gave you the other side of what it was. Like I thought that was super dope. Like being somebody in his position, like he didn't make it like, oh, I'm this big bad dude. Like he would give you that side of it, but then he would also make songs about his homeboy getting shot and him taking him to the emergency room. And I think that that's just important because he just gave younger dudes like the balance, like of seeing like, okay, what it is. Like he'll tell you about a particular lifestyle, but also tell you about the pitfalls that come from it. And I thought that was super responsible of him.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's how you really resonate with people beyond like music, is when you show that you show people that you're a human being.
Right.
Like a lot of artists, they just come out one dimensional.
Right.
It's like, yeah, I just get money.
Yeah.
Hoes.
Yeah.
And that's all I am as a person, and then people can't really connect with that. But
Right.
with Nipsey, it was like you saw the humanity in him. Like even if you didn't, like my girl didn't listen to Nipsey, but she like, I like him.
Yeah.
I like what he about. I like his relationship with his girl. I like what he was talking about.
Yeah, that's
she don't listen to none of the music, but she just liked him. That speaks volumes in terms of like, people can see how it really was as a person.
Absolutely. I think one of the many videos that I consumed was his GQ interview with Lauren London.
Oh, that was so mad.
And that was like, first of all, let me just say, many tears have flowed through this whole ordeal.
Right.
And not knowing much about him and watching his knowledge of Lauren London was like, he was like enthralled with her. You know what I mean? And black men, we get this bad rap. We be out here, we don't respect women, we don't love women. This man was fully in love with her, knew every answer. Like, he would say stuff like, well, you probably will say this, but you've told me this before.
Right.
You know what I mean? This ain't this is one of my many women. You know what I mean? And I was just like, that's kind of one of the reasons that it resonated with me so much. Is like, as a husband and father, you just, your kids and your interaction with your wife or your, significant other, and that's like snatched from you. Like that's kind of like frustrating, like not like kind of frustrating, like that's kind of the reason why I brought you guys here. I remember like when I first heard, I was with Tone, Doe, and Tahir, right? And actually Josh was
actually I wasn't there because I was in San Luis Obispo.
We were texting,
right?
And I remember like I saw it on Twitter, like, man, Nip got shot, right? And I was like, oh man, hope he's okay. Hope, you know what I mean? Then like, but like I had this like sinking feeling,
right.
You know what I mean? And then like less than 2 hours later, it was like he passed away, right? And the thing that was crazy is like, even though I didn't listen to his music, but I knew about him from the business, right? And I was aware of who he was as a man, and like that's kind of where I connected with him.
Right.
His death hit me like I had like consumed his music every day.
Right.
And I was talking to my wife, I was like, I don't know what it is, like what it is about it. And I think like maybe it's because as a father and husband, there was the previous picture of him and his he was taking pictures with his kid, and then the next picture, that's one of the things about social media that is like that I hate, is you're like inundated with these images before you even get a chance to like get your bearings. You've already seen like a bloody towel or the video or something like that, and like my next question was like, what were your initial thoughts when you found out Nip had passed away? I'll start with you, Deez.
I didn't believe it. Like I still have trouble believing it now.
Yeah.
I haven't been on social media in like 3 weeks either. So it's like when it all happened, my girlfriend called me and she told me that he was shot. And I immediately pulled over and just started praying and just was praying for his safety and his well-being. And from there, I got another call saying that it happened. And I broke down. Like a lot, I broke down. And I just couldn't believe it, like, cause he's like coming from the city and listening to the way it affected just the world. It was like he was like our generation's Tupac,
right?
Like real life, and like I didn't get to experience Tupac like how a lot of people got to experience Tupac, but like I feel like this was that effect because he was, like you said, he was in the field. giving back to the community, showing the gang members like you don't have to take this route all the way. Like I've done that. Here's what you can do to be better. And yeah, just
yeah. What about you, babe?
It was we were about to do the show. We were getting ready. We were probably about an hour out, hour and a half before we did the show. Keon in the group chat said Nipsey Hussle got shot. And I was like, what? And then and so once he said that, I was refreshing Google every second. Like, Lord. And then just seeing posts and stuff like that. And then Tahir was there, and I was just like, I started getting a bad feeling. It was like, yo, and then he died, and I was like, man, I was down. Like, we had to do the show in less than an hour, so I had to flip the switch and, tell the jokes. And then I cried when I got back to the hotel because, I look at the humanity of it. Like, he was murdered.
Right.
And that's somebody's father, that's Lauren's, mate, that's, son. I look at the humanity of it immediately, and it was just like, man. And he was taken. It amps it when it's not like a health issue or like something. It was something that was just completely unnecessary.
Yeah.
And so, his life was stolen. I'm sure he had so much on the horizon. Yeah. So much he was about to get done. He was always doing something.
Absolutely.
And it was just like, man, this dude right here, right in the community where he was, rebuilding and like, because and then you're gonna hear, and I already knew what was coming after that. It's like, that's why you shouldn't go back to your neighborhood. I knew that was coming. I was just like, man, because I hate gentrification.
Yeah.
And so I love the fact that he went back to his community to build it up, provide jobs, and let kids see that you can live here, be from here, and still be successful within here. Like an immigrant mindset.
Right.
And so I was just assured that, I was haunted by it for like even now. Like, because it's just the potential.
And that's what it is for me. Like it's I was telling my wife, like I cried before the show because you guys were already at the venue. I was still at the hotel. So I'm like trying to okay, I'm gonna get my my act together and stuff. And then like just the thought of like being gunned down it's such a violent death. Right. You know what I mean? Like it's like war. Like you shouldn't be gunned. Like I tweeted this. I was talking to my wife and I just was like trying to process my thoughts. And I was like, man, I just want to die old.
Right.
Like my dad was just old. Like it feels like as black men we don't get it was just his time to go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just like it was a heart attack and it was stress and it was cancer. It's like, man, people just be like, man, he was 88.
Yeah.
And he was like, man, I've done it. He just went to sleep.
That's how you want to go out.
I want to live so long that they're like, man, our dad was ain't nothing else for him to do. Like I want to be like, whew. I'm tired, y'all. Like I'm gonna get out y'all way. You know what I mean? Like, and he's 33, right? And that's what was like. It was just like a good father, a good man to Lauren, a businessman, and like a light in such a dark place and dark time. And I mean dark place like South Central. I mean like just like disadvantaged communities. Right. There's not many people who will come and say, nah, man, you can do it. So I'm just thinking like. One, is there like retaliation? And two, if you're in that community, are you just like, see, man, it don't matter? Because my thing was like, it felt like it doesn't matter what you do.
That's how I felt. I just felt so. Oh, I mean.
No, I'm just like, it feels like whether you bang or whether you're legit, you have money, try to help, you leave the hood, you get, you know what I mean? It's like, fam, what can we do? Like as black men, it's like the police, literally just had the police. Yeah. Somebody called the police on us in here. Like thankfully they were, not tripping, but like. It's just like feels like it's always one thing or another, and we just can't be like, man, my dad is like I be seeing people's posts, man. Like my grandpa, like white friends of mine, my grandpa's 93. Right. Like I be like, man, I don't know anyone I can't even name you one black man that lived past 85. Right. You know what I mean? Like that just hasn't been the case for my life.
It really made me angry, and like this was like a guilty thought that I had just. Before that even happened. For one, it made me so angry just because it was just like I felt like we let Nipsey down. Like we should have protected him. And I mean like just as a community for as important of a voice that he was. But even before he passed, like because he used to always be around the neighborhood. Like I used to you see little video stuff of him at the store. I used to always kind of have that feeling like I just don't want nothing to happen to him. I didn't want to put that out in the universe, but it's just like sometimes you just be afraid of people, like, you know what I'm saying, of situations. I was just like, I hope nothing ever happens to him. And then just so when that happened, it just broke my heart. Like, who would do that to this guy? Like a guy that was just promoting nothing but good, who came from the worst of situations, was motivating people. He had a meeting scheduled for the next day to talk about ending gang violence, bringing resources and jobs. I was just like, what is going on in somebody's mind to take that guy away? You know,
that creates an obsession from the people, like potential.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
when people are extinguished right at their peak or right when they're about to get somewhere, people become like, we obsess about what could have been.
Right.
Because, you know, it wasn't like a health thing where they slowly faded out. It's like, you know, same with Pac and Biggie was like, man, what if they would have...
Right.
And it's that whole thing, and it's like...
And that's the thing, like, as black people especially, like, we don't have... Like, I used to listen to this podcast called How I Built This, and I had to stop because it was like... It was very frustrating to me, like, almost, I'd say 90% of these people...
I already know.
How did you start the money? Oh my, $200,000 loan from friends and family.
Yeah.
Like, everybody, like, it doesn't matter what. I could have had the idea for Uber, Airbnb.
You can barely get $20.
I can't, bro. $200,000 from that's no venture capitalist.
Gave me half a meal just to start.
Bro, that was everybody's story. And it's so frustrating because Nip was on track to create that type of income. Like, maybe it's not $200,000, but I can give you $30K to start your whatever, or $50K. And like, there were so many people who were depending on him, and now all those people are without a leader.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And that's the thing that kind of like was crazy. I'm gonna get to you guys as well. It's like, I felt so bad, kind of online with what Dope is saying, was like, there's no way Nip knew this many people felt this strongly about him. There's no, when you think you have that person, you don't have a reason to be like, oh, let me just tell you I love you. Right. That candlelight vigil in front of his store, we just don't do that. It's just human nature. We don't think nothing's gonna happen, so we don't do it. And I just feel like, man, I wish he would have known. Like, I know he knew he was loved, but like they had vigils in like London and Paris, far outside of South Central LA. You know what I mean? So,
and I think even just a quick point I want to point out, because like, you know, when it first happened, and then automatically people start coming out with these different conspiracy theories, like, must be the government. And at first I was angry, like, why are people saying that? But I think that we as a community just did not want to believe anybody in his neighborhood could have done this to him. So it was just like, we were just searching, like, it must be a government. It can't be somebody that looks like us doing this to him.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because I remember when people were first saying it, I was getting mad, like, why is it? But it's just because we were just searching for answers.
Yeah.
You know
Go ahead, Richard.
I was actually headed to go host a game show, and when I just recently got into an accident like 15 minutes prior to that. So right for the before I take off, I jump, and it's like Nipsey Hussle been shot. I'm like, oh man, what? And then so you don't want to hear that. So then I get on Twitter and like he shot 5 times, or like something like 1 to the head or something like that. And I'm just like, you know what I mean? It already started to set in on you. And then initially when they told me where he was shot at, just from knowing the streets and being from South Central, I immediately said to myself, oh, it was somebody he knew that should kill him. It was one of his homeboys, because then nobody can get that close. And 2, any other hood is not. Nipsey was like a made man, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're not about to go bust at Nip because it's gonna be terrible. Right. You know what I mean? For your hood, and so I said, as soon as that happened, I said, oh man, it was one of his own that got him. I just knew, and it hit me super hard because my cousin, like was like a big brother to me. He was also gunned down, you know, in LA back in like 2008 or whatever. So it was like, you know what I mean? It's that feeling like, and it's Nip, and Nip is like, he meant so much to so many of us. You know what I mean? Not just from LA, but obviously from all different parts. You know what I mean? And to see that he's gone, like you said, you wish you could tell him how much you love him while he was here.
Yeah.
But I think I also see the silver lining of this, to where there are a bunch of Nipsey Hussles being created because of this. You know what I mean? Like, there's a bunch of us being created, and it sucks that he had to sacrifice his life for this, but I love to see the positive side of things. In the hard as this may be, it's like a bunch of us share his sentiment, so let's get together, let's do something. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think one thing, let me get to you to here, there was like a whole bunch of gangs had come together shortly after his death and like locked arms and stuff like that. Right. And you know, like it seemed like only it's a shame at one point that only death can bring people together. Right. But at the same time, you hope that like this the environment that we're kind of stuck in, we can do something about it. You know what I mean? Because when you really think about it, the Jay-Z song kind of put it really clearly. Like, we out here fighting over territory we don't even own. Right. Like we renting these houses or government assistance. Like, and we take so much pride like in my block or my hood, and we don't even own it. You know what I mean? Like enough to kill people that look like us over it. Like it's increasingly frustrating. I'm not blaming gang culture. I'm just like there's a lot more that goes into it. Mostly poverty, lack of access to education, resources, capital, things like that. And people need money. You know what I mean? Like, and if you don't see somebody like Nipsey who can get it this legal way, then everybody else you see who's getting it illegally, that's what you seem like, okay, that's how we got to get it. Because that's how, I was talking to my friend who was born into it, and he was saying, and this, I had never thought about this. He was just like, man, this is the same way if your dad's a barber and your granddad's a barber and your great-granddad's a barber, all your uncles are barbers and cousins are barbers, then you're more likely to become a barber or a hooper. And he was like, everybody in my neighborhood banged, both men and women. So it was like, that is how you lived life. Nobody knew anything different. My children, God bless them, they don't know nothing. My son was like, yo, they were supposed to send them summer with their grandma. And he was like, yo, I want to join this robotics class. And in order to do that, I have to join this summer camp for robotics. And I was like, what? Like my man was like, I love grandma, but if I gotta prove to the robotics teacher that I'm serious about robotics, so if I don't come to this class, I can't be in the club. And I'm like, this man really robotic. What? He's like, it's robotics. So I was thinking about a time where I think, Tony, you were with me. We went to do Great Taste in the inner city, South Central area. Yeah. Them kids ain't thinking about no robotics. No. There's literally drugs being sold on campus. A kid had got shot. Like, and both those kids live in LA. Isaiah lives in LA. Those kids live in LA. But their worlds are so different. Like Isaiah don't have that trauma, and I'm thankful for that, but I also feel guilty. You know what I mean? Like I feel like I should be doing more. You know what I mean for that kid as well. Besides that one time we go and kick it, and that meant the world to them. But for all intents and purposes, I go take some pictures with them, shoot that, and then I drive back to the valley. You know what I mean? I don't have to worry about that, and Isaiah never has to think about that. So I mean, that's something I'll get to later as far as like what we can do in the community. But I wanted to hear your thoughts on like what your initial thoughts were once you heard.
Well, as Tony said, it's probably 2 hours before the show when we first got word that he got shot, and probably about 45 minutes later, we found out that he had passed. And it was a heavy feeling over the room. Anybody that came in the room felt it even before we said anything to each other, and I think that just speaks to how powerful his presence was. I agree with you. I feel like I wish he would have known how much the city really appreciated him prior to his passing, but. My biggest fear was that it was somebody he knew, and that outpour of positivity would be overshadowed by something negative that followed by them finding a person. Because those repercussions could quickly, wipe out all the good of the visuals and the murals and everybody giving their testimonies of how good he was, and then here comes the narrative of a former gang member, Nipsey Hussle, gunned down, and now that is what people are seeing all over their timeline versus the philanthropist versus the guy that gave back versus the guy that was teaching financial literacy in his neighborhood and buying up his neighborhood and giving people that look like him jobs. So that was my biggest fear, and that's what I remember thinking and hoping that would not happen. Plus, the families that would be affected, it wasn't just Nipsey and Lauren and the kids, it was whoever this person's family was and their immediate family, because street rules apply. If we can't find you, nigga, where your mama staying, where your grandma staying, your cousin. So that was my initial thought. Like, I hope this doesn't spill over and become something that makes a city tainted and painted in such a bad image. So it was just heavy, man. It was heavy for a couple of days. As you still feel that looming presence of death in the city, but it is it's quickly being battled by the positivity that people are showing toward.
And I think that's one of the things that I noticed more than anything. It was like even the police were like, man,
this guy was the bridge.
Yeah, I mean they were like they broadcast his picture on like a police wall. Policemen were sad. Like that's not usually associated with gun violence and rappers. Like police being like sad for this person's loss, and I think that was kind of like mind-boggling. Go ahead, Rich.
Because honestly, man, Nip was just, man, he was like a light, bro. He was just very, like I said, me and Nip weren't the best of friends. Last time I talked to Nip was probably like over a year ago. You know what I mean? We messaged each other back and forth on Twitter, but it was like he did speak to you. He was even trying to kick knowledge and positivity. It was never about negative, right? And here's a great story. I was in the Mix and Master Victory Lap, and Mike invited me to the studio. Not Nip, my boy Mike invited me, and Nip's like, yeah, you can come. And so Nip, we all hanging out. Nip takes off, man, and 45 minutes later, Nip returns with Roscoe's for everybody. You know what I mean? Like here you are, bro. Like you let us in on your studio session. Right. You the one with the money. You didn't go send a runner. You went to go get it. Right. You came back to break bread with us. And before he left, he was telling us about books we should read and all that stuff. Like, dude was just that. He was that kind of person, man. So that's why it hurts to be like, oh my God, because this dude was blowing up and he was willing to get back and share and just spread so much positivity when it's such a negative
Absolutely.
person, and it hurts, man. I'm like, dude, he was such a genuine person, man.
And that's the thing that I think like resonated with me the most, like the amount of interactions he had with people, like all the stories of, like, I remember the story of like the street light technician who didn't even know who Nipsey was. He just like, this business owner talked to me, then I saw him on the news and he's a famous rapper. And he was like, I talk to this dude like every week. He was just chopping it up with me. Like he had the most positive stories from people from all walks of life, not just rappers or athletes, like everyday people, you know, like people in the community. And some of those videos were so like heartbreaking. People were like, man, he bought me groceries or he paid my bills and stuff like that. And it's just like, we don't have that many people. Period.
Yeah, and even like before his passing, and like especially after, you could just see how well respected he was by his peers. Like, he's been in the game for like 10 years now. You never heard another rapper like talk bad about Nipsey or have like any type of dirt on his name. Like, he's just a real solidified, respected dude from like everybody in the game. And you've seen like a lot of the outpouring. Once he did pass, like just everybody loved Nip. Like, there's never nobody saying no negative stuff about him.
He just felt authentic, man. Like, even when you look at the videos that people have been posting lately, every video that I've ever seen of him, even before he passed, I would just listen to what he was talking about. He was coming from, he'd be talking about his business plans and stuff. He was very humble. It was very low key. It wasn't like, hey, look at me, look at what I can do. It wasn't preachy. It was just coming off as like, you know, like you can do this, you can do that, and you felt it. It felt like a regular conversation. And you never felt like he was up here. You felt like it was like face to face. You were like, man, you inspire me to. It's like talking to somebody. You're like, you know what, man? I'm together too. And I wonder too if that business acumen comes from it, because I believe his parents are immigrants.
Yeah, I think he's Eritrean, I believe.
Yeah, I feel like immigrants have a different mindset in terms of hustle.
Yeah,
and I see that in him, Nipsey, and his brother. Like, they were talking about how they were hustling on the. Because I feel like immigrants have a humility about them coming in.
Right.
They leaving
I'm leaving my whole country.
I'm coming here. It's about
no plan B.
Right.
Let's get it.
We about to get this money. We about to stick together. We about to grow the wealth. And I feel like we need more of that mindset as Americans.
Right.
To be like, you know, we're gonna do it on our own. We're gonna work hard. We're gonna put the pride aside and focus on the business.
And I think that's one thing that I want to, you know, as part of his legacy that I want to continue is like other cultures, especially Asian cultures, they will put in on a business and support their own businesses. And like black people, we get a bad rap, but we support each other more than we get credit for.
Right.
Like I've seen a lot of artists on the internet like, yo, I got this, and we be y'all join in, like, you know what I mean? But we often don't have the amount of businesses to support like other cultures. You know what I mean? It's not as easy because getting a business is hard. You know what I'm saying? You gotta have good credit, you gotta have income. Like a lot of times that's harder for us to attain. So therefore it's not like there's no, like Nip is one of the few people we can even think of that had even that type of business. You know what I mean? Like it's still so many black people are like the first to do this, the first to have a store here, the first to do,
in
you
2019,
know, 2019, like it's silly, but like the wrestling. My son is really into wrestling, and Kofi Kingston just won, and he was the first black champ. I was like, the first.
I was watching WWE back then because I was like 5.
And this is not even. It's scripted.
Yeah,
you couldn't think of I couldn't have scripted a black person till just now. It's still so many firsts that happen. One thing I wanted to ask, especially Rich and DZ, I know it hit us all hard for different reasons, but I wonder, do you feel like it hit you guys harder because he's from LA and you guys are also from LA?
Honestly, hearing you guys talk now, no, I don't. I think it may have hit a little different because, like, we saw him, not like we saw him every day, but like
right.
We're from LA, so like we saw him as going through the same, making the same choices we had to make.
Right.
You want to bang or not? We made this choice, and then from there, growing up through that, and we saw his maturation up to this point, and then to piggyback off what you said, like obsessing with that person's growth at a point, like just that for me is like I will never know where he would have been in 20 years. Like everything I saw Nip work for was for Victory Lap. Like all the mixtapes, just everything he did was literally because he was always talking about Victory Lap, and then it finally came. Right. It came, it did what it did. It was crazy, and then now what?
And
now I'm just like that's why it's like hard to wrap my head around really like all this for. But I know it's bigger than that now. You know what I'm saying? Like
right.
Because like you said, it's gonna be a million other Nipsey Hussles out there now. You know
right.
I don't think it being from LA, I don't think it could necessarily hit me harder. I think it hit me differently, just of like what it means, because I look at it as like, okay, I'm from here, and not only just for me, but other dudes that's in particular situation like Nipsey, like being from the hood, still banging, like he was a voice for them, and he was giving them, like you say, other options, other ways, to go about life. And like even him linking with like YG was showing, so many young Bloods and Crips, like, so what if you from different hood? Like we can come together, we can get this money. Like we still black at the end of the day, you know what I mean? So that was a huge message. So, but for to say it hit harder, no, not because I'm from LA, because it like Doughboy, like Nipsey's in your ear when you was losing weight, you know what I mean? You got straight from there. You before you go on your shows, maybe you whoever, you know what I mean? So Nipsey, it can hit us regardless, because we heard this man over and over. Now that voice is. He's no longer in the body anymore. He's gone. So I don't think you have to be from LA to really feel it.
Let me ask you guys this. This is what I've been just dealing with, just like on a black man level. I don't know if you guys, deal with this. So I was shell shocked and like paralyzed by fear, like in the summer of 2016, because it was just like so many black men getting murdered by police. Like it was to the point. I remember me and Kev used to talk about, like, I was afraid to drive at a point, because it was like, as a black man, you see black men getting murdered by policemen and nothing really happened to them. So that does something to you. It makes you feel like, as a black man, I can get killed by police. But the reason why this hit me so hard, because he was murdered by another black man. I feel a lot of times really powerful black men that stand for a change, like even with the Tupac or even with Malcolm X, like these are people who were murdered by other black men. Does that make you guys feel in a certain type of way? Like there's no way out of this. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like you're hated by, racist cops that just kill people. And then it's just like, when you are somebody, you're a positive black man, like everybody in this room is, and then you get to a certain level and then you get killed by another black man. It just makes you feel like, as a black man, where do we go for just refuge or just to be cool or just chill? Like
I think the paralyzing feeling. It's frustrating.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because like Martin Luther King and Huey Newton and like just like the FBI targeting the Black Panthers when Black Panthers were started as a community protection organization. Right. They were like giving out breakfast and things like that. And then the FBI was like, they're the most dangerous organization in the world. They were basically like destroyed by the government. Like, and so many of our leaders are, I guess the word is like extinguished. Before they even get to reach their full potential. Like 30, I think Martin Luther King was 39, Nipsey 33. Like I was saying, we don't get to live that long. But I felt like there was no, like, I think what you were saying, I felt like there's no refuge.
Right.
You know what I mean? I don't feel like, and I don't like, I'm a law-abiding citizen. Right. But like when them police come, like, when I see police still, like, no matter what I'm doing, even if I'm just walking down the street, my heart starts beating fast, because I know that interaction can go south before I have a chance to do it. Like, this is the first time I've ever had this many people in the studio, and we just we arm wrestling before we start shooting. And somebody calls the police.
Police officer show up.
Bro, like,
instead of coming up, everything okay?
Bro,
we're gonna go straight to the cops.
Straight to the police.
Wow,
that's their first. reaction is, and the thing is, when you're black, I mean, and this interaction with the police, they didn't come in with no ill intentions. Right. You know what I'm saying? But it don't always be like that. Right. It be like, oh snap.
They could have been just as intimidated by us as whoever that was that called it on us.
Right.
You know,
and you know what's funny?
A room full of black men, they walking in.
I try to talk to every neighbor here to avoid that. There's a tailor down there. DC was like, you go to the tailor, I don't need my clothes tailored. I just want to patronize his business so that he's like, hey, that's Kevin. I introduce myself to every business owner I see here. And as soon as I get 8 people in here, we arm wrestling, call the police. And that's why, bro, I don't need no cleaners. I don't need no acupuncture. I don't need none of this stuff. Like, but I just don't want that stuff to happen. Right. Like even when I go into a gas station or Starbucks, if I just have to use a bathroom, can I buy something and then can I use your bathroom? I never even just go straight to the bathroom. I never want to give you anything, and and that's what's so frustrating because I was going through the same thing as you though. 2016, I remember just like I was driving the car on the way to show in Seattle by myself. And it was like all those videos of black men dying. It's just like they just kept playing in my head over and over and over and over. And I just broke down and cried. I mean, I'm talking like shaking, convulsing, because I'm like, bro, that can be me. I'd be scared with police. You pull a gun on me, I'm gonna be like, oh snap. You know, what do you want me to do? Like it seems like no matter what you do, it's never enough. And then you usually end up getting blamed for your own death.
Because we're not trained to be calm in those situations. Cops go through training to be calm in hostile situations. Right. You have hostage negotiators, you have cops that try to calm a situation down. They're supposed to calm a situation down before it escalates. We don't have that training. So if someone puts a gun on you, you're frantic. You're like, hey, what can I do? What am I doing? What you want these hands to do?
Right.
And we don't know what to do. So they're yelling something at us, and then you usually got another cop that's yelling something else.
Right.
Put your hands down. Put the gun down. Like, I don't have a gun. It's just my hands. Yeah. And now you're still moving, and they want you to be still. But you didn't hear him because he's telling you to sit down or something, and now you shot.
Yeah.
Because we don't have that training, and they're not taking classes on how to deal with us not having that training. They just have the training for them to be calm in those situations. Right. It's like, fam.
I feel what's crazy is that you have white men, you know what I mean, that come from the suburbs, you know what I mean, who's not used to the environment that they're going to protect and serve. Right. You see what I'm saying? And they feel everything. They feel threatened by my mere existence. I'm just walking up the streets because you're not used to coming in contact with someone who looks like me, who's dressed like me, right? And then like what Doughboy was saying is that it sucks because you got these cops, they come in with this mentality is, and I've been on the other side of it too because I've been in Afghanistan, I've been in Iraq, and I've seen to where soldiers are talking to Iraqis and Afghanistan people, like Afghan people, to like they're nothing. And I've also seen the same where police talk to black people you know what I'm saying, that same way. So it's like, and then you have the white man come into town feel this way. Then you have the guy who look like me that's from my neighborhood may want to put a hole in me too. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, bro, it's hell. You know what I'm saying? It's hell.
You can't relax.
You can't relax. You know what I'm saying? And it's not. It's not to say that Nipsey was from 6-0, you got Schoolboy Q's from Hoover, you know what I'm saying, YG's from Bompton, but at the same time, I think it says that we're all from the same hood. You get what I'm saying? Because it's like, once again, it's the white racist police coming down to our neighborhood to protect and serve, right? We have our mothers and our sisters, our aunts who are on welfare, raising the children. Why? Because the black man, the black father, he's removed, he's in prison. You see what I'm saying? So like, we may throw up different fingers, wear different colors, but we from the same hood. And why are we doing this to ourselves if we know they're doing it to us too?
Right.
It sucks. Right. You know what I'm saying?
Go ahead.
It's like a double whammy. It's like for me, like, and going on what Doughboy was saying about 2016, I really got into what was going on when Alton Sterling got killed. That was my moment.
He was selling the CDs in New Orleans, right?
Yeah, he killed him. That was my moment because at first, you know, with Ferguson and everything, I was outraged, but I was still just like on the fence, like taking everything in. And then when that hit me, it hit me hard. I cried, like especially when I saw his son. And then I've just been on it ever since, like on social media and whatever. I was just ready for it. And honestly, I don't live in fear like that for my own life.
Right.
When I see a cop, no fear. I just be like, all right, what are you about to do? You know, there's mistrust. There's attitude. There's all right, what you about to talk about? Oh, it's cool. Well, you know. And I don't know. I just stay calm in those situations. My fear is for my sons.
Right.
When they're out hanging out with their friends, and that's where I get shook because I have no control whatsoever. And like for me, it's like. It's like that. Like, you know, the cops aren't community police. They're just going.
No.
They in the suburbs and they come down here. They think they're better than everybody.
They live in the City Valley, man.
It's like you're not getting to know. It's like that cop T. Norman.
Yeah.
You see kids running to his car.
Right.
That's how it should be in every neighborhood in America. When the cops roll up, we shouldn't automatically be like, oh, it's the cops.
Yeah.
That should be somebody like how firemen are treated.
Right.
Oh, it's the firemen. We over here like, you know, excited.
Yeah.
But I feel like we don't have that, and so we're scared of the cops. We're mistrustful of them, mistrustful of people that look like us.
Right.
And it's like, and now that Nipsey died from somebody in this community, now that gives fuel to the other naysayers. Like,
black on black
crime. Where's the outrage here? I already know that's coming.
And we be outraged.
Right.
It's all outraging.
Right.
I mean, it's all outrageous.
And people always want to argue, like, you know, where you at on the what about Chicago?
What about
there?
like that?
I'm like, we've been in our own communities talking about violence in our own communities. We've been starting programs. We've been wearing T-shirts. We've been mourning. The difference is they get arrested.
Right.
The dude who shot Nipsey got arrested.
Right.
Cops kill us, nothing. You off for 2 weeks.
They get paid vacation.
You off for a year. You get the job back if you want.
And
that's the difference.
It don't really help to argue that to them if we're the issue. You know what I'm saying? Like if the problems within our community, it's best for us to deal with that ourselves behind closed doors.
Right.
Yeah.
But
they're going to throw
lastly,
that in the fire.
what does that have to do with anything though? Like, oh, black people kill black people. Why aren't you outraged? Like, that's not a cop's job to come in and kill us because we're unarmed. That's the dumbest argument ever.
Right.
How is that even an argument?
And the thing is, every crime statistic ever says you are more likely to be killed by people within your proximity. And that means if you live in a whole bunch of neighborhood with a bunch of black people, it's a black person.
Yeah.
White people, that's not an unusual. It's not like, well, only black people kill each other. Other races in perfect harmony.
Oh, no,
it doesn't work like that for anybody.
It's not even comparable either when you think about that black people only make up 13% of the population. Like it does, literally, we could kill everybody and still wouldn't even amount to half of what they do because we're such a small sliver of the population. Mm-hmm. So, and like you said, it happens within your proximity. So you can't really base it on those numbers per capita because we're at such a landslide in comparison to them.
Yeah, I think about like 2 Chainz's album, like I think it was called "Rap or Go to the League," and that literally be people's only option. Right. You know what I mean? Like again, just with my kids, my wife was telling this yesterday. She was like, "Look, y'all, we save money for y'all to go to college, and if y'all don't go to college, I'm keeping it." Like she's just joking, right? But really, if they want to invest in a business, we'll do whatever. But I remember I knew this Asian girl in Washington, man. And she graduated college, and her dad, graduated high school, and her dad graduated college, forgive me. And graduated high school or college, and her dad said, I got $300,000 for you. You can either start a business or put it down on the house. It's your choice. She started a sushi restaurant with a conveyor belt, first one in Tacoma, and I think within 2 years, she was like a millionaire. Like it was that. And I was just like, fam, my dad loves me just as much as her dad loves her, but he just doesn't have access to that kind of money. That's, you know how hard it is to come across $300,000. Like you, it's 1 in a million. Like, and a lot of times other cultures they just have a head start. You know, and that's what frustrates me the most about slavery was back then. Like, yeah, but the money from back then has rolled into those families for forever. People who come from slave money, they still have money. They still have land. They still have access to those resources. So yes, you may not have owned slaves now, but you still reap the benefits for it. And imagine how hard it is for the family of that slave to get where you are. Because if you think about after slavery, when you were black and you built something up, they were killing and lynching you, or you got uppity. We were in Tulsa. We were in Tulsa visiting Black Wall Street. That community wasn't bothering nobody. We got our own money. Yep. We ain't tripping.
Y'all don't want us, we got it.
We got it. We here. The government was like, no. Burned the whole thing down, and then like all their money, it was crazy.
And then they say, why y'all the way you are? I mean, you take away our leaders, you take away economic, you take away everything from us, then you blame us.
And then say, why
are you the way you are? The white man created the. Yeah. There's no way around. The white man created the. Then you look at it and say, why are you that way?
Yeah.
Well, it's because of you, dumb.
That's what the thing that was so frustrating about the 13, Ava DuVernay's documentary of like how you go from the slavery to prison pipeline was nearly automatic.
Yeah, exactly.
It was like, we gonna get this free labor one way or another. If we can't legally own
way or
you,
another,
then we'll criminalize you and we'll get that labor that way. And then it's even like Jordan Peele. I was thinking about it. It was such a small thing he said. We were talking about this, babe, and he was like, I never see myself casting anybody other than a black person. And people were up and on. What if a white man said that? They don't have to say it. They just do it. They don't go, no. Woody Allen was like, bro, I'm not white men only. You don't have to say it. So then when you go make your own, what do they tell us? Make your own movies. Okay, he making his own movies and not casting nobody but black people. You can't do that. That's racist. What do you want?
Right.
What do you want from me? Because I was thinking about this. Ryan Coogler directs Black Panther, right? Mm-hmm. And he has black actors, black costume designer, black production designer. His costume designer and production designer win Oscars. And they only get that opportunity because a black director says, I'm picking you and I'm picking you. We talk about this. We work in Hollywood. You know, people's jobs were picked because they knew a guy.
Right. Almost all of them.
Bruh, you think racism and nepotism?
Yeah.
Fam, how many of us went to AFI? You know how many jobs are just because you went to AFI? I went to AFI. My uncle went to AFI. I'm going to hire you. I'm going to hire this actor. Even when you know people, and that's why I go out of my way, minorities. Be mad. Feel how you feel. Minorities, because ain't nobody looking out for us. I got to be like, I know this person. My head of production is Mexican. First producer hire is a black woman. Assistant is a black disabled woman. The production person who designed this office is an Asian woman. Bam. People are going to look like this. You're going to just have to keep calling the police because there's going to be a whole bunch of us because nobody else is going to go out and look for us. You're going to have to keep calling the police. Because when I want to invest, if I have the money, you like, I got a movie script and you know I'm going to help you, I'm going to look to you before I look to anybody else. And it's not that I don't want to help other people. It's just that I know we don't have many more options. Right. We don't have a lot of people to look at who have access and resources to help us do much of anything.
That's another thing that Nipsey was doing too. Like he really like kind of preset. He was like known for giving like ex-felons jobs. Like, you know what I'm saying? So just people that look like us, giving them opportunities. So I think that's another thing that was just super dope about him.
Yeah. I think it's, go ahead, Deez.
My fault. I think that's another part that really hurts too, but just because seeing somebody do it at that level, be an example, and watch that taken away is like, we gotta rise. I don't know. It's just it's motivation to get to that.
Yeah.
And I'm really on a quest to make sure that his legacy is not just a fad or a short attention span moment on social media.
Right.
That's why I committed myself to post those points that you made every single day for a year.
That was dope.
Yeah.
Just to, and then people like, man, I just show up just to see if you really gonna do what you say. And like, because I want his legacy, because I feel like his legacy can inspire so many people.
Absolutely.
Even within that community, within communities all across America and like the world even. And like, because I love that mindset. Like, we go to different cities every weekend. I see gentrification all the time.
Oh,
like,
man.
Look at what's going on here. Just imagine. So that's always in my mindset. And I always, I tell you this all the time. I want to buy houses in Chicago, like in the Midwest.
Right.
Just property. And just, you know what I'm saying? And so I feel like Nipsey can really inspire a lot of people to do that.
Absolutely. It's happening in DC. There's this whole fight right now because DC's known for like live music outside. People just play and people
the disco music.
Go music. And people have been coming into these neighborhoods and being like, it's too loud, we're calling the cops. People are like, fam, we've been doing this
for 30
forever.
years.
This is
how
like,
you gonna knock this
that's
off?
part of the city. What are you talking about?
Like,
I'm like trying to hush up the musicianship in New Orleans.
In New Orleans, like that's
who are you? We got the horns going. This is the second line right here.
Yeah, and that happened. Like after Katrina, developers came in and was like, oh snap, we finna buy all this stuff up out. Like I was just looking at this in Inglewood. The Rams are coming there. I saw somebody post their rent change was from $1,200 to $2,500.
My family experienced
in
that
one lease.
Wow.
Who in the world can handle double your biggest bill being doubled? Hardly anybody.
Like that.
I couldn't. If they doubled my rent, I'd be like, all right, so where can I live? And I can't afford to live at this. Not double. Double.
But you know who can afford to live there?
Right. And the Rams are coming in town. People with money are coming in town. And when gentrification happens, safety happens. And that's what people think. Oh, it's getting safer around here. And there's a Starbucks, and there's a
Whole Foods up the way.
There's an Orange Theory. You know what I mean? Like it happens like that. And people start calling the cops on people who live there your whole life. You know what I mean? Like, we're the only black business owners in this thing. And I was like, man, what do we do to make us not stand out? But the thing is, we are loud people.
Yeah.
We just be loud. You see black people playing spades, you would think we hate each other. We're having a time of our life. And boy, it's Troy, you garbage out here. Get off the table.
Yep.
And we dabbing it up after that, man. Y'all trash, though. I love it. You know what I mean? That's how we be. We're just really animated. That's why people love us. You know what I mean? I was talking to this magician. This is way off subject. It's just funny. And I was like, do you really like performing for blacks? He was like, yes. Y'all give the best reactions of all. Oh, my God. I'm going to burst in his face.
The Ace of Spades. You stand there for 5 minutes. Yo, this dude. No, stop. You got to see this.
Even when we laugh, we like take off running. Run 15 yards away from where it took place.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's so funny. Like, I was thinking about this because I was just thinking like how many dances we come up with and clothes and like even starting from where black people was, we've been lit.
Oh yeah.
Even through slavery, it was like, bro, this is trash, but we've got some dope music. Like, y'all want to sing out here?
We are the culture, man. We are American culture is black culture.
Come on, man.
We the culture, man. Period. Around the world, no one. I mean, Asia, the Middle East, wherever you go, bro, they emulate black people, bro.
Man.
Like, bro, I'm telling you.
I've been listening to Lil Nas X, Old Town Road, the country song, you heard? Bruh. And I know black people, we created all the best music.
Right.
Bro, country music with a trap beat, I was like, what? Yeah. I didn't even know I needed that. I almost bought a cowboy hat. When we stopped this weekend on the road, I was going to take my work down the old down road. I was like, we're so lit. We dancing and stuff. Like, think about you remember the weatherman that went viral last week or 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
Just doing black dances.
Mm-hmm.
If he would have been doing a country line dance, that man went viral. And we are so loving. If you can do our dance, we'd be like, hey, fam, let's do it. Come now. All he did was this.
And all that was cool, but when he was like,
he did so polite.
Yeah. We're so forgiving. We're like, hey, do our little dance. Look at the little dance. Man. You don't do your little
You won't rent to us and nothing like that. You do our dance. So, hey,
you do our dance.
Are we too forgiving now?
Hell yeah.
You know what I think is? I think it's our nature.
Right.
I think we just happy people.
I really think we're looking for allies. We're looking for people that, you know what I'm saying? I see what you're doing over there.
And there are some.
Yeah.
There are some allies.
I hate it when we slap down the allies.
Right.
Too. They're getting too woke. They don't want you. No, let them come in there.
Because you know what? The truth of the matter is, no serious change that we want will happen without white allies.
Right.
Slavery wouldn't have stopped without white allies. None of the change. It's just the way America is. We have to have the help. As much as we want to think it's the other way around.
Right.
But you're gonna, because think about how all the politicians and lawmakers.
We don't have the numbers by ourselves.
If only black people voted for Obama, he would have never became president. He would have got blown out of the water. You know what I'm saying? So I want to close with this, and it's one thing I want to hear everybody from. What do you think of Nipsey's legacy, and what will you do to like carry that on in your mind? Tony, you kind of touched on it. By like posting something on social media to kind of have his legacy move on. I was thinking about even in our Chicago show, this was before Nipsey, but I was just thinking about like we were trying to sell 10,000 tickets, and then I was like, man, maybe we should just donate some tickets to like kids who are at-risk groups and people that work with them. That's kind of a thought that I had. You know what I mean? That's something, maybe I can do that in every city. Like reserve 25 tickets to some youth group and people, because they be watching us on ADD and they be so hyped to see us. You know what I mean? That's something I can do. It's a small thing of like, hey man, just pull up to the show. One group, we're gonna give away 20 tickets at every show for people who work with at-risk kids. You know what I'm saying? But what do you guys think, or have you had any thought about how do you carry on his legacy?
For me, really just staying persistent in everything I do in like every aspect of my life, and just like if I'm gonna read a book every day, I'm gonna read that book.
Yeah.
If I'm gonna work out, I'm gonna work out. Stuff like that, and also reaching back and giving back to my community more.
Yeah.
Like really finding ways to do that and embed myself into that. Because I feel like that never stops. You never stop giving to receive. So it's like, and sometimes I feel like we tend to forget that.
Yeah.
But you have to give in order to receive. So those are like two of the things. That's where I'm gonna start right there.
Yeah, that's dope.
definitely me, like consistency, man. Like in terms of work goals and reaching out and helping people more. Because I feel like we all busy individuals, so I feel like I need to dedicate more time to helping others and like being consistent with that in any way I can. Because you get caught up in life and like a lot of times we don't mean to miss out on this or not show up to this, but life gets in the way.
Yeah.
I want to make sure I want to set time aside to really just like dedicate to helping people, and I do it now, but I feel like I can still do more, like direct help as far as indirect, and like just being consistent, like, and and it starts with his message, like consistently posting that every day, reading it every day, taking it in and applying it. I feel like a lot of times we hide one minute. Yeah, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that, and then the next week we fall off. I thought you was gonna do this.
Yeah, we are.
You know what I'm saying? I feel like consistency, because Nipsey was consistent.
Yeah,
in his message and his content and what he was trying to do, and he was just building. And I feel like if everybody applied that consistency to whatever they're doing, you could really win.
Dope.
Yeah.
I started making a list of black businesses that carry the products that I need, whether it be body butter or hair oil or soap, whatever. And I'm just going to try to utilize my dollar to support those businesses to keep the dollar in our community longer. And it's going to be difficult, because we don't make everything, clones and all. Even like the clothes that we make, they get them from a big fabric place. But, as much as possible, that's my goal, to try to patronize black businesses more and just keep that consistency and that motivation in conversations with people that I have in passing, and let them know why I'm doing it. And maybe try to encourage them to get on board with that too, as much as possible. And it takes work, but
consistency, it'll build. I got on black drawers right now.
There you go.
Black on. It was expensive, but they was black.
What are they?
A boxer. Boxer Club.
Oh, that's not
yeah.
Shoot me that link, man.
Oh yeah.
I'm in Boxer Club crossing over.
Sure,
they make draws big for
Fantastic.
Yeah, I love these underwear.
All right.
You know what I'm saying?
Black on draws?
Black on draws, guys. A lot of people sleep on draws.
You need the draw.
You need the draws.
That's the base of your whole day. If you ain't got the draws, you ain't got a good day. You ain't got a good day.
Yes, for sure.
Rich?
For me, to keep his legacy going, like he was the Tupac of our generation, so I believe that it's important that we pass down his legacy to our kids, what I mean, so they can pass it down. Here's more important, I think it's accountability.
Right.
I think Nip, we tend, as black people, sometimes we tend to, whether it be Jesus or whoever, come back and save us. We realize ain't nobody gonna save us. You know what I mean? Like, it's up for us to save us. Right? While we here,
I think Jesus is coming back though. I don't know if I agree with the Jesus.
No, that's fine. That's fine. That's fine with Jesus. But what I'm saying, until he does,
I was like,
exactly. Hold on, but until he does, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
That's
physical world.
Physical world.
I was like, if Jesus coming back, we in trouble.
No, physical world. What I'm saying is that accountability, to say that we see what's going wrong. We see how like somebody like Trump's in office, right? We see that cops are still killing black people. We see all send us off to prison for any and everything, right? But how come we don't sit back and say, wow, black people still killing black people in 2019? You know what I mean? Just accountability, man. Not saying any of that stuff that's happened with Trump, the police is right, but we have to understand that, bro, we got to be accountable. We see they put it right in front of our face. We can't act like we don't know what's going on. We have to start, you know what I mean, getting ahead of it. And instead of reacting to it, let's get ahead of it, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But I took two just important things about his legacy. Number one, that just anything is possible. I seen him build it up from nothing, just very, very humble beginnings. And look where he took it to. Look the heights that he took it to. His first album was Grammy nominated, like very, very well respected by his peers. So it just motivated me to know that anything is possible. And then the next one is just kind of just adapting that mantra of the marathon. Like that's how I'm like looking at life now. Like it's not a sprint. It's not nothing that needs to happen right now. But it's just consistent day by day, building upon whatever it is you want to do. And then you can get there. So I just try to use that as a model and a blueprint template of my life. It's just more of a running a marathon than just trying to get it all done super fast.
Absolutely. Hey, thank you guys so much for checking this video out, man. Rest in peace to Nip, and hopefully you guys were inspired by something we said, and you can do something in your own community. All right? Peace.